Hi everyone, welcome to Quantum Lucid. Today we're going to talk about imagination, what is imaginary and what is real. So first of all, the word imagination, the first part of the word is image. Image means a still picture or frame. If you take your smartphone and focus it on any object in your room, say it's a table, a chair, a lamp, anything, and you take a photo of it, an image, you capture an image of it. Once you look at your phone, you'll see that same table or chair in your photo gallery, in your pictures collection. Now, what does that mean? It means the picture of the object that you took is already in existence. Meaning you couldn't have the image or the picture of a particular object on your phone without the prior existence of it. Now let's look at the word imagination. Image is the first part. So imagination is a still picture of an already existing idea, object, physical reality. I bet you never thought of it this way. You've always thought of imagination as something imaginary, something not real, something up in the clouds, something to daydream about, something to fantasize about. You've always given imagination the characteristics of unreality, of non-real. Instead, you have learned and conditioned yourself to give only reality to the eyeballed physical, structural world and environment around you, including the circumstances, the conditions, the people, events, whether desirable or undesirable. Now, going back to the idea that creation is already finished, what it means is anything that you can imagine, any visions that you have, any imaginary scenes, replays, conversations, those are actually really happening in real time. You cannot capture. Let's revisit this again. You cannot capture a scene or an image unless it is physically playing out in real physical reality in existence. Now that you have this information, how will it change your approach towards manifesting? What is the difference between 3D eyeballed circumstantial conditions versus imagination? The difference is in you, the storyteller, who differentiates as one as real and the other as unreal or imaginary. Do you think your brain actually computes and understands the difference between imaginary scenes versus physically occurred structural environmental scenes that it captures? Everything, including memory, is always an image. You're always dealing with images, whether that's stored memory from an actual physically occurred event or an imaginary memory. It doesn't matter. That's where the lines get completely blurred, and it's up to you to give factuality and actuality to those scenes. So what is stopping you from making something imaginary into objectified reality? It's you, your judgment of the fact that it is imaginary and something isn't. Your judgment is what differentiates, discriminates, and separates the two. It separates imaginary world from the so-called environmental, physically occurred real world. But it needn't be so. And that is where you have to learn to decondition your learned conditioning and realize the lines are completely blurred, and at your mercy to deal with them and allocate them as you wish. Imaginary scenes, images, imagination is again still up to you. Whether you want them to be only imagination and remain imaginary, that's also up to you. Or whether you want to take that and give it objective reality. And how do you do that? By just deciding that it is real. By deciding it's happening now. By deciding that it's physically, solidly, equally valued and weighed as an environmental, physically occurred event in front of your body and eyes. So I hope you look at imagination differently going forward, because this is your superpower. You've just been derailed and conditioned not to look at it that way and to dismiss it as unreal, as imagination, as fluffy and cloudy and fantasy and dreamlike, where it doesn't have to be that way. Everything doesn't have to make logical, sequential, or rational sense when you bring it into your experience. Keep that in mind. Illogical, unsequential, disconnected, discontinuous is absolutely okay in terms of manifesting your desired outcomes. And speaking of desires, I wanted to touch on this lightly, and we'll talk about this more. Your desire comes from something that is currently occurring on another realm in physical actuality. You think it's just a fleeting thought. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. So if you really desire something and you really want something to happen as an outcome, your desired dream outcome, whether it's a bunch of things or one thing, doesn't matter. Whether it's huge or small, doesn't matter. Your desired outcome, why then would you spend time looking for evidence that it won't work? Why would your expectation be of failure and disappointment? Because that's how we're conditioned. We're conditioned to dismiss certain things and only accept other things. If you could only blend and blur the lines between imagination and your so-called physical, occurred, documented reality, you would know there is no reality other than I am and pure consciousness. Because to consciousness, everything is real, all at once, everywhere. So I will leave you at that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Take a look at my description page where I have a link to my community if you want to join. and I'll talk to you in the next video.